We are back with another episode with Jaclyn from the Lost Labia Chronicles. If you haven't listened to part one yet, I would recommend you doing so. This is part two of this amazing conversation that we had together. In this episode, we talk about how scarring and fusing can cause pain even in remission, why steroids can't reverse existing structural changes, the difference between vaginal yeast and vulvar yeast, and why it's often missed, dermatitis, embedded yeast, and product reactions, pelvic floor tension and nerve pain, why doctors need to get curious instead of dismissive, what you can ask for while waiting for answers, masturbation, toys, and when to pause, my favorite, finding knowledgeable providers, and so much more. This episode is so juicy, and I can't wait for you to dive in. I hope that you enjoy part two. Welcome to the Pelvic Power Podcast. My name is Penny, and I am the host of this lovely space. I am a pelvic floor yoga teacher who teaches people with pelvic pain how to use movement, breathwork, and body awareness to ease and manage their pain while living a pleasurable life. In this space, we'll be talking about all things taboo because we love it, and how to support your lovely pelvis and your lovely self on this journey that you are on. I'm very happy that you are here, and I hope that you enjoy this episode.
People are like, the doctors don't know what to do with me. They say my skin looks great and I can just do maintenance, but I'm in pain. And they say, well, you look great. See you in 6 months or 12 months, which is completely unhelpful. And here there's a bunch of things that can be happening. It's possible that your LS is in remission, but you still have pain symptoms due to lichen sclerosus. Now, it's not that the lichen sclerosus is currently active, but the pain is coming from changes that have already occurred from lichen sclerosus. Typically, what we're talking about is fusing. So let's say you have clitoral fusing. So this navy blue part here is the clitoral hood, and then this pink part here is the clitoral glands. So for some of us with lichen sclerosus, this hood can start to stick to that glands, right? So if I try to retract and pull it up, I can't fully expose that glands. Sometimes it can completely scar over that glands, which is when we call it clitoral phimosis, meaning if I try to retract, there's no movement. So normally if you can retract, you just pull it right up. This is quite mobile. It moves very freely, very easily. There's no restrictions. But with phimosis, this, you try and you can't move it. Now, this for some people can cause pain. Now, the skin can be in remission, but one thing that steroids can't do is they can't undo fusing that's already occurred. But fusing itself can lead to pain. So if this is already fused, the skin is in clinical remission, great. But this might feel, your clitoris might hurt, and how it hurts can vary, right? Again, like we use a lot of adjectives to describe this, but that's because this fusing is causing the pain. So if the skin is in clinical remission and you determine that the pain is due to LS from scarring, then there are surgical procedures to reverse this scarring. And you could also have scarring at like the base of the vaginal opening, right? So some people will get this almost band of scar tissue that kind of builds here. And what it does is like, let's just pretend that this is like a vaginal opening, right? And so scar tissue starts to build up. And what you can see is now there's less and less space as that scar tissue builds up. So if you try to insert something, that can cause recurrent tearing. And that is very painful. Someone that has had recurrent tearing, it can be very painful. So again, there are surgical procedures to remove that scar tissue. Now, sometimes you can be in clinical remission, still have pain, but there is no scar tissue or no scarring or no fusing. Or if there is, it's not the source of the pain. Now the doctors need to not say, okay, I'll see you in 6 months. This is where they have to start to get curious and ask questions, because now we have to say, all right, well, it's not the LS causing the pain. So what is going on? Often what I see, one of the number one things that people are still in pain and symptomatic, but the LS is in remission, is yeast. You would not believe the amount of people that I talk to that will say, they say the skin looks fine, everything is good, Or they tell me the skin is fine, just put more steroids on it because you're flaring or something. Throw more steroids. They get worse and worse and worse. They're saying the skin is red and inflamed, and I don't know what's going on. I keep putting more steroids. And this goes on and on and on until they actually say, okay, fine, I'm going to go see a vulvar specialist, only to find out that they have vulvar yeast. The amount of Canadians that I know that have got on a plane to go to the States to get told they have yeast. And I'm like so embarrassed as a Canadian because this is such a simple one. Like this shouldn't
Mhm.
be, you shouldn't have to fly overseas to get a yeast diagnosis, but a lot of people do. So there can be embedded yeast in the vulvar tissue. There could also be a kind of dermatitis type reaction to a product that you're putting on your vulva. So it could be from one of the emollients or your wash or something like that. There could be dermatitis that's causing pain. There could be pain from your pelvic floor. So we often think of our body as like different parts, but they really are all interconnected. And when the pelvic floor muscles are tight, especially when they're chronically tight, that can start to cause vulvar pain. And it can be vulvar burning, pain with sex, all of these things. So there can be pelvic floor issues that's actually causing the pain, and it's not your LS. Like the LS is actually fine. It is in remission, but the pain symptoms you're experiencing, it's not from LS, it's from the pelvic floor. And then there can also be nerve pain going on, pudendal neuralgia, or just angry nerves. So there's all these other things that can explain what's happening when we're still in pain, but the skin looks fine, right? So ideally, for me, this is a moment for healthcare providers to start to get curious and start to work through these questions, right? Is there a vulvar yeast? Swab and swab the vulva because vulvar yeast is different than vaginal yeast. Vaginal yeast, you're going to have that classic discharge. Vulvar yeast doesn't have a discharge. It looks more like a diaper rash on the skin, red, raw, irritated, maybe kind of flaky, peely skin. That can often be embedded yeast. So they have to swab the right place. If they're just swabbing the vagina, they're going to miss. So they need to swab. If they think it's dermatitis, either refer out to a dermatologist, talk to them about the products that they're using. If they think it's pelvic floor related, refer to a pelvic floor specialist. If they think it's nerve related, in this case, probably a vulvar specialist is going to be the best one, not a neurologist in general. That's probably not going to be the best route, but a lot of like vulvar health specialists or like good, not good because, well, gynecologists that take a special interest in vulvar conditions can also
Mhm.
kind of manage those like pudendal neuralgia type conditions. If I can add one more thing, sorry, I talk a lot. The
That's
other
okay.
thing,
Do not apologize.
the other thing that I say is that if the skin is in remission, the LS is actually well, but there's still pain, and we know it's not from LS, and we're trying to figure out what is causing that pain so that we can do the right thing. This can take time, right? Especially if you're like us in Canada, where like our wait times can be quite long for healthcare providers. It's very likely that you're not going to get an answer on the spot. There's going to be different testing being done. There might be different referrals. You might have to see this provider, that provider. So I also tell people when you're with your doctor, ask them in the interim, what can I do for the pain? What can I do while I wait to figure out what is happening? Because they can do things for the pain in the interim. They can give topical lidocaine, typically 5% for genitals. And these are not meant to solve the pain. These are meant to help improve your quality of life and minimize pain while we wait to figure out what it is so we can get proper treatment. So lidocaine is typically going to just numb you up for a bit. Can be nice if you have a nice dinner with people and you just want to like enjoy your evening, enjoy the food, enjoy your company. You don't want to have to think about your vulva. You can put that lidocaine on, numb it out for a little bit. You have a big work day, you can use lidocaine. There's also different pain topicals that they can prescribe, often compounded, so they can compound things like gabapentin, amitriptyline. They might even put some lidocaine in there. You've got the amitriptyline and the gabapentin there working on the nerves if they suspect kind of nerve pain, a bit of lidocaine to kind of numb things out, so on and so forth. But explore different pain relief options because that process of figuring out what is causing the pain can be long. And we don't want you just, every day in agony, right? We want to reduce that pain and improve your quality of life while we wait for that answer. That was a very
Mhm.
long answer to your question.
No, I love it. I'm living for it. This is so good. This is great. Okay. So talking about pain and symptoms and things like that, how, okay, so this is a question that pops up a lot. I'm all for
Yeah.
masturbation. I'm all for massaging the area. How did you know this by now? How do you feel? Because a lot of people say to me, oh, will it not make the LS worse? What would you say to that?
Hmm. Okay, so in general, I too am like pro masturbation in general.
Yeah.
And I'm also pro masturbation in the context of LS. Go for it.
The
Caveat.
juices are healing.
Caveat. When I would not, and I would pause it, not indefinitely, but I would pause it if your symptoms are very, very severe. Like if
Mhm.
you are like itchy and like you're ripping apart your underwear at night, or your pain is so bad that you can barely walk to the bathroom. I think now's not the time. I don't think you need to be
Yeah.
symptom free, but you also don't want them raging out. So, like maybe in the middle to on the lower end of the spectrum. The other time I would tell people to pause, and this is the most important one, is if you have an open wound,
Hmm.
right? So, if there's an active tear, I wouldn't want to aggravate that, whether it's with my finger, whether it's with a toy, so even like pants on toy. No, I would let the open wound heal. So if there's an open sore, open wound, anything open skin, we let that heal first. Again, the skin doesn't have to be perfect, the texture doesn't have to be perfectly resolved, or the color doesn't have to be all back yet. But we want the open skin to heal, because if you have open skin and you're putting anything on it, the vibrations, we can just potentially cause infection. We can rip that open wound open a little bit more, gonna cause us more pain. So that's the only time, the only two times I would say like pause, not forever, but just either let the symptoms settle a bit or let the open wound just focus on the healing. Obviously, like a biopsy site, anything like that, surgery, wait for that to heal. I don't think most people like that just got a biopsy would even be thinking about
No,
this, but
just in case, you never know.
just in
Yeah.
case, it's like
Yeah.
what did I used to say? Oh, for like vulva checks, I would always talk about like vulva checks, and someone wrote in the comment once like, "Oh my God, you don't wash your hands first?" And I was like, well, I thought that was just a given. So I no longer assume that
Yeah.
things are a given. So biopsy, no
Yeah.
masturbation. Let
No.
that biopsy site heal. Surgery, let that surgical site heal. Other than that, fair game. Obviously, like I'm also team lube, so lots of lube. And then like toys, whatever you like, man. Um, I know what's really popular is those like suction devices that like
I
pulses
don't like
air.
them. Yeah. No,
Those
I,
are so popular in the LS spaces.
yeah.
I love all toys. I'm not even gonna lie.
I
I
don't
love the
like those
air
toys.
ones. I like the big ones. I like the everything. Like it's all good. I love it all. But I do
I
think it's
this
good.
this makes me think of a song, the itty bitty ones and the big ones and the long ones.
Yeah, that's me. I'm like, they're all good. Like I use them all. There's a nice rotation. But again, find what works for you. I know this can be really, really daunting, but like sex shops are phenomenal. Like the most non-judgmental people work there.
Hmm.
And I've actually like walked into there for like on multiple occasions and be like, hey, so here's the deal. I have LS. Here's what that means. I'm looking for this. Help. And they do. They do. And like no judgment whatsoever. Like I swear they're just like the kindest people in there. Sometimes when I'm sad, I'm like, maybe I should just like have a coffee and browse the sex shop and just like talk to whoever's working there. They'll make me feel good about myself. Like, like they're just so nice there.
I love
Um,
that. Add that to the
mhm.
list of things to do for your pelvic pain. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And it's cool because they're starting to do studies on like sex toys, masturbation, and vulvar pain. Most of
Hmm.
it's done on vulvodynia patients. The last study, it had a few different types of patients. I don't remember anyone with LS specific, but there's emerging research showing that this can help with vulvar pain. So again, assuming symptoms are not out the window and assuming there's no open wounds, then that can help reduce pain a little bit. It's also great to bring blood flow to those tissues. And one of the things that can happen with LS is that our blood vessels become sclerotic and hardened. And so it gets harder for oxygen to reach those tissues. So we definitely want to be encouraging good, healthy blood flow to those tissues. So
That's why it's so important with movement and stuff like that too. And that's why we do pelvic
ex
floor yoga. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, 100%. So yes, all for it, like
Yay.
you.
We love that. We love that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next question. This is not really a question. This is more like maybe like how to work around this.
Okay.
So someone said, I want to go to a gynecologist that is familiar with lichen sclerosus. I don't want to be an experiment. I want someone who can jumpstart from the moment I come in. Any
Mm.
insight?
Well, first of all, fair.
Yeah.
Like super fair. Um, I mean, I think everybody would want that ideally for whatever their condition is, but I find especially for kind of like genital pelvic things, we really don't want to be an experiment. We already kind of feel like that in a sense with gynecologists who are like super like top of their field, because again, like you're naked from the waist down, like exposed in these stirrups, like it's such a vulnerable position. So you
Mhm.
definitely don't want like someone's first day, you're like this, and they're like, oh, lichen sclerosis.
Chat GPT, what
Yeah.
do you think?
Oh, like no, fair, right? Like completely valid. And that can be a challenge, especially depending on where you're located in the world, right? More like rural communities are going to have a harder time having these access to these like hyper specialized doctors. Or if you live in a big city and you have access to these specialized doctors, there might be a significant wait time. If you're in Canada or if you're in the States, it comes with a hefty dollar sign. Can be quite expensive. So this is definitely a challenge and something to consider when you're looking for doctors. I think my best advice when trying to find someone who's well versed in lichen sclerosus would be to use Lichen Sclerosus Support Network's provider directory. So this is international. There are doctors entered in here from all different continents, all around the world. What you would basically do would be you would go to lssupportnetwork.org/providers, and then you would just plug in your state or your province or your town, and you would see who comes up. And then ideally, a list of doctors would come up, and you could go to their websites and kind of see who seems like a good fit. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to come up when deciding who's a good fit because that again for us as Canadians it's not a thing, but for Americans for instance they want to see, is this doctor in my network or is it going to be out of network, and if it's out of network, what's my insurance going to do about this? For other people, a consideration could be just location, right? Like I don't drive a car, so if this is 5 hours away, I can't really do that. Or I need to now think about how I'm going to get there. Who's going to drive me? Who am I going to pay a lot of meals for to bring me there and back? Um, so there's a lot of considerations there. This directory, as it currently stands, is referral based, meaning other people with LS said, hey, this doctor really knows LS. They are really good and they really helped me out. I give them my stamp of approval and then they go on the directory. So that's usually a good start in that there's at least, somebody else with LS who said this doctor is great and they definitely know LS. So I think that's a great place to kind of look for that because you're not really going to Google like lichen sclerosus doctor near me. I've never done it, but I
Yeah.
don't think much would come up,
I don't
to
think
be
I
honest.
like I might try that today and see what happens.
Yeah, I like low key wanted to
Yeah.
like grab my phone and do it now just to see. I mean, I think like a couple clinics might come up, but again, like I've always lived in a big city like Toronto, Montreal. Like I've never lived in a smaller community, so for me actually like doing things like that, I often will get results. It's like when I was looking for a sex therapist, it was like so easy because I was in Toronto at the time and they
Hmm.
had like centers for it. Like, so I was able to just use Google for that. But I would go through the directory to try and find a good provider who's knowledgeable about lichen sclerosis.
I love that. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Hmm.
This has been such a great conversation, Jaclyn, and it's so nice having you on the podcast. I feel like this is all the time that we have. So I want to ask you, how can people find you? How can they support you? What are you working on right now? What is your focus within your business right now when it comes to lichen sclerosus?
Yeah, so I'm kind of a bit all over the place. So I am the director of the Lost Labia Chronicles, which is an evidence-based knowledge sharing hub. So basically, I do a lot of knowledge translation work where I read medical articles and I translate that into things that we can just understand without the
Hmm.
medical jargon, without the scientific terms. Um, and without it feeling too clinical or like removed, right? From like that patient first standpoint. And I do offer one-on-one patient support calls. Those are either 30 minutes or an hour. Typically, if you're the it's for first call, I do recommend an hour because sometimes just like sharing your story takes 30 minutes. And then if you just book a 30, then there's like no time for questions and that. So I do a lot of peer support work through that. I'm also the Chief Research and Provider Relations Officer at Lichen Sclerosus Support Network, which is a nonprofit based in the USA, but we serve folks from all over the world. Literally, got folks in Europe, Asia, all over the place. And I've brought a lot of those knowledge translation skills over there. So I now do all of my blogs and videos are with LSSN. And then I do a lot of working with LSSN and different research, pharmaceutical relations. And we are also, I'm leading the provider continuous education program, which is a CME course. It's continuing education, and this was co-designed with patients. So we have medical students, and then we have some of the leading figures in lichen sclerosus research. We have Dr. Andrew Goldstein, Dr. Jill Kraft, Dr. Melissa Moskar. So two vulvar specialists, one dermatologist vulvar specialist. Then we have a sex therapist and psychologist who's Dr. Carolyn Klein. And then we have Mukta Chauhan, who is our pelvic floor PT, so that we're really getting education from all of those lenses. It's really built with a lot of trauma-informed care built into it, a lot of nuance built into it. And we also consulted our community in building this. You know, we had a town hall, we sent out surveys asking, what are your big roadblocks in your healthcare? What does your doctor say or do that is not working for you? What would you want to see your healthcare provider do in these? So it was co-created with the patient community, with patient advocates, with medical students, and these leading experts. So it's like a big crash course on lichen sclerosus. This is we're not launching it yet, but we're hoping to launch it in the spring, and it's going to be open to all healthcare providers. So not just gynecologists, but also dermatologists, physicians assistants, nurse providers, family doctors, everyone, so that hopefully we don't have to have anyone being experiments because all these doctors are well versed and feel comfortable diagnosing, treating lichen sclerosus. So that's a big project that we're working on. I think that's going to be really life changing for a lot of people. And I just can't wait for that to get out there because it's actually so common. Like lichen sclerosus is so common, and considering the amount of us with this condition and the number of physicians that really understand it, the gap is too big.
Hmm.
So I think this program is really going to help close that gap and help people get diagnosed sooner, but also help people have better care, better management overall. So we're hoping to launch that in spring, early summer of 2026. And yeah, I also do a lot of research with different universities, so that's a lot of fun. And yeah, a lot of patient advocacy work. I talk at a lot of medical conferences. I do a lot in the LS space. I do a little bit of
You
everything.
do. Yeah, you do. You're really driving through here. I love it. Yeah.
And if people want to follow me, I am at the Lost Labia Chronicles on Instagram. That is where I'm most active. My website is lostlabia.com. And then for Lichen Sclerosus Support Network, we are at Lichen Sclerosus Support Network on Instagram and at lssupportnetwork.org on the web,
Yeah.
the
And you also have
internet.
your YouTube channels.
Yes, I do have my
Yeah.
YouTube. We both have YouTube channels. I don't really do too much new on the Lost Labia Chronicles, but there's still some older videos that you can check out. Every now and then I post a new one. But a lot of my newer content is on Lichen Sclerosus Support Network's YouTube channel.
Yay.
Man, it's a tongue twister.
Yeah, I know. When I was recording myself the other day, I was like, Lost Labia.
Oh yeah, you're real. That was so funny. And like
Yeah.
you're like at the beginning of this video or the beginning of this podcast, you're like, oh, you're so good at saying like the big words like triamcinolone and halobetasol. But I can't say lichen sclerosus support network. Like I'm
No,
fumbling those,
I
but I
know.
can say
I
those.
know.
It's so funny.
Well, thank you so much for joining today, Jaclyn. It was lovely having you on, and hopefully we'll see you back on the podcast
Yeah,
soon.
I'd love that. Thank you so much
Yay.
for having me. Thank you for everyone for listening.
Yes, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone, and I will see you again next week. Bye.
Bye.
Wow, I am absolutely blown away by all the knowledge that I received from this interview with Jaclyn. I hope that you are too and that you learned something about you. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's a pleasure having you in the space. If you had any takeaway, as always, feel free to send us a DM or tag us in your stories while you're listening to the podcast episode. You can find me at Wellbeing by Penny and Jaclyn at the Lost Labia Chronicles. Again, thank you so much for being here and remember to look after your beautiful body.